Hello everyone and welcome to this special Commonwealth Realm video detailing the Nintendo Switch in 2018. With I, Joseph, the channel creator Conrad, and our special guest, Rogersbase.
Thanks for having me. We were actually going to do this last year, and then something came up. I forgot what it was, and we weren't actually able to record, so I'm glad we're actually able to do it again this year.
Yeah, seriously, I actually remember that too. I was like, Rogersbase, I've seen his reaction videos, so that's really cool. So 2017 is behind us with Game of the Year, Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, ARMS, Splatoon 2, Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle, Super Mario Odyssey, a bunch of solid third-party and indie games, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
And it's the first year of the Switch? I mean, it's unreal, because now we look at this year and we're like, what the heck? Where is 2018 gonna go if you get Mario, Xenoblade, and even things like ARMS, Zoom 2, Pokemon, what else came out this year? Metroid? Like, we got literally everything this year, so it's gonna be tough to top it in 2018.
So, here is the big question. How can Nintendo possibly beat this insane launch with an even better 2018 to reach their goal of selling 20 million Switches from January to December? One personal hint here could be whatever Retro Studios is working on.
I gotta be honest, I feel like Monolith is taking it over Retro now. Like, I'm sorry, Retro, I love Metroid Prime.
I fully agree. I fully agree.
Monolith's got it.
Like, Retro has to prove themselves at this point. They have to. Of course, we love to death Donkey Kong Country Returns and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. But it's been a long time since we had the last game from them. I think it was January 2014?
February, but yeah.
February,
yeah.
They delayed it a little bit. But the thing is that I think 2018 will be Retro's year. It's like you got Monolith Soft this year. You got Nintendo's biggest. I mean biggest Mario and Zelda. It doesn't get bigger than that. Well,
no.
An open world Pokemon game will be bigger than those two, but still.
Yeah.
That is what it will get to Switch to 30 million units.
Retro taking this long. This is actually a perfect transition to something I did want to talk about. Retro taking this long on whatever they're working on is a really, really good sign. Because, like, every single Metroid Prime game they've worked on, they've had an abysmally short amount of time to work on every one of them. And but this, how long has it been? Like, it's going to be almost 4 years at this point since we've heard a lick of details from them on whatever the hell their next game is. So, Retro Studios could be the key to all of this, but then again, besides Kirby Star Allies and Yoshi, we also have the Bayonetta 1 and 2 ports, the first mainline Fire Emblem game for a console since the Wii era, No More Heroes, Travis Strikes Again, Mega Man 11, and perhaps the core RPG Pokemon title that we know is on the way. But what do you think? With Bayonetta 1 and 2 coming out for the Switch in February, could Bayonetta 3 be slated for the fall now that we have gotten the first teaser? Or is it too soon, seeing as it is, quote, now in development? But even so, could it be further into development than we actually think and come within the same year as the paid online Switch solution? Perhaps the first Nintendo Direct of 2018 might shed some light.
The January Direct is a given. It happens every year.
Every year,
because they have games in February. They just want to get all the spring announcements out. But there's any attachments. The question is what will be happening to the 3DS this year. That's a big question, because we know Pokemon is done. It's done. It's not coming anymore to the 3DS. So is the 3DS dead in 2018, or will they continue supported? Because there's so many IPs that could make their move now to the Switch. Obvious ones are, we know about Pokemon. We know about likely Animal Crossing. And Fire Emblem is, of course, coming in 2018. Right. So, is the 3DS dead by this point? Will we be seeing any more announcements for the system in even January?
It's not going to be dead. It's going to be limping very, very, very slowly. We'll be getting smaller release titles that are still full-fledged games. Like this year, we got
Mario Party Best 100 mini games.
Yes, games like that. Yeah. I'm not even kidding. Like, and Monster Hunter Stories, I think that's what it was called. We're gonna be seeing games like those probably. And
there's another Yokai Watch. Like, there's another localization of one of those Dragon Quest games they'll probably release in North America for 3DS. I think in terms of first parties, though, it's pretty much done now. I think they have now officially moved on to Switch. I think once Pokemon Company was like, look, all right, over a year from now, you're going to be playing a Pokemon game on Switch. It is what it is. Like, this is our last mainline game. When Pokemon finally abandons the handheld, that's when you know that it's done. I feel like it's probably going to be like that for a while until they end up making like a family-friendly kind of Switch Mini that maybe would go as a SKU, kind of similar to what happens with 3DS, where you had like the new 3DS and the regular 3DS. I could see them making something where it's like you have the Switch, but then maybe there's like a Switch Mini that where like the Joy-Cons don't come off or something, and you could play it on the go, but then also put it in a dock and you need like a wired controller or something. I could see them doing something similar to that, because right now, like the 2DS seems to be the best kid system, right? It's a big hulking piece of plastic that you can give to a 3-year-old and they could slam it on the ground and it'll still be okay. Whereas you can't do that with the Switch. And I think that's where things are going to be going from here on out. I think the Switch really is both their home console and their handheld. All the teams are putting all their development into that one system, and now I think we're going to be seeing SKUs of the Switch. Like I said, one that might be like a more family-friendly one, but I don't even think we're going to see that in 2018. I still think there is a little bit more life in 3DS they could squeeze out of it, and there's definitely room for another like price drop or two in the mix for the new 3DS systems. I think 2DS is probably staying at $70. I think that's like incredibly cheap and such a good value because it comes with 2 games or something. So I think that'll probably stay there, but I could also see a price drop of the new Nintendo 3DS, maybe down to like $100. So,
yeah, it would be pretty good. Yeah, they're still coming. They just came out with an Ocarina of Time bundle for the new 2D, not the new 2DS, the 2DS.
There you go. Yeah, the 2DS. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, because I have the feeling like 2017 was this last year where you got those handheld IPs like Fire Emblem Echoes. You got Fire Emblem Warriors, the version for the 3DS. You got last Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon games, and now 2018 we're moving all over to the Switch. We know about Fire Emblem. I bet Animal Crossing is in the works for the Switch.
It's gotta be.
It's been such a long time since we had a new game, not counting the camping edition we just got on the smartphone.
Phones, yeah.
But I think Animal Crossing and Pokemon will just, if the Switch is to hit 30 million units next year, those 2 games will just kill it. Because people that have been on the fence waiting, like for them Mario, yes, it's a good reason to get it, Xenoblade even more, but when Pokemon comes out, Animal Crossing, there are no excuses any longer.
Game over for everyone else.
Yeah. I think the interesting though too is, you know, we're talking about these franchises and like what else Nintendo could really release, and I feel like they've been doing a really good job of doling out DLC for games that have already come out. Like, if I've 2 really good examples. One of these isn't a first-party game, but I think it speaks to like how Nintendo is treating the Switch. ARMS and Super Bomberman R. Both of those games came out, and I would argue were like 6 out of 10s. Like, they had a lot of problems, they weren't really fully fleshed out, and yet, through all of these free DLC updates, both of those games, both ARMS and Super Bomberman R, are now like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 really great experiences. You've got tons of characters, lots of modes. ARMS has like the Party Crash Splatfest type thing going on right now, plus they keep adding new characters, all with really different mechanics. They've added a lot of balance changes to the game, which actually makes it a lot more fair and a lot more competitively viable. You look at Bomberman, they added literally an entire mode that's bigger than the story mode that came with the game that was free DLC, along with all these like Konami costumes and things like that. I feel like both of those games have done such a good job of, again, iterating on what was already in the box, and I think we'll probably see a lot more of that out of Nintendo in 2018. Maybe even for Mario Kart, for Mario Odyssey, I definitely think we're going to get DLC. And ARMS and Splatoon, they're obviously going to continue to support as well. And then now, moving into 2018, outside of the DLC, yeah, like you mentioned, we'll have things like Animal Crossing, probably. Pikmin also seems like a given, considering Miyamoto already stated at E3, hey, Pikmin was not Pikmin 4, and that's been in development for like 3 years. We'll probably get whatever Retro's working on. I don't think Metroid will be next year. I think that's a 2019 game.
I don't think so.
And Pokemon. So I mean, like Pokemon, Fire Emblem, and Animal Crossing, alongside smaller things like Pikmin and Yoshi and Kirby, I think would make for a pretty solid year for them, especially if they keep iterating on, you know, the big titles they've already released in that first year. So, and Pokemon, I think, is unprecedented. Like, people really underestimate what a big deal it is to have Pokemon on a home console for the first time. I think that's going to bring so many people into the mix who maybe even haven't played Pokemon in a long time, who played it when they were kids, and that now they're like, they have the Switch. You've got celebrities like Chrissy Teigen and like Ariana Grande who are talking about Super Mario Odyssey on their Twitter feeds, and I could easily see them talking about something like a Pokemon or an Animal Crossing game later next year.
Yeah, because I think they might want with this Pokemon game to drag in also the crowd that got in through Pokemon Go. Because the experience will somewhat be similar, since you are in a 3D environment, probably open world, and the appeal of catching Pokemon out in the wild, just like in Breath of the Wild. Like, the ideal Pokemon game is like Breath of the Wild, but with Pokemon, I guess.
Yeah, Nintendo's booth at E3 is going to be pretty interesting at 2018.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Man, especially
Oh, yeah.
if
I'm
Pokemon
excited.
is that big holiday game, which I don't see it being like anything
So that's a big
else.
question. Will next year be Metroid or Pokemon?
Pokemon for sure.
Pokemon
gotta
for sure.
be
Yeah, no
Okay.
question.
So Metroid is 2019.
Yeah, I think it's got to be. I don't see Metroid, and keep in mind, I'm the biggest Metroid fan on the planet. I don't care what you say. I don't see it being a big holiday game either. I see that being like a summer release. The only Metroid game I remember releasing was Prime 3, because that's like the one game I got day one. And it was, such a big Metroid fan over here, but, and I was a child. Calm down, everybody. And that was an August game on Wii, so I see that. I think even Other M was also a summer game. So even Animal Crossing is also a summer game. So
Yeah, well, Animal Crossing I could see, because they specifically did not talk about functionality with future Animal Crossing games or previous Animal Crossing games with Pocket Camp. But we already know, based on every internal document, based on every time they ever brought up the game before it got released, that Pocket Camp is going to work with a mainline Animal Crossing game in some way.
Yeah.
And yet, they didn't say anything about New Leaf, so it's probably not New Leaf. And again, you have lots of people who are now getting into it, and they're already sort of drudging up the hype for people who have a Switch, but want Animal Crossing game. They have the HD assets now. They're testing it out on the phone. I think they could probably put together a real Animal Crossing game, especially if they continue to iterate on it, and then maybe have that as their summer game next year. But I think the other thing too that people are underestimating is Fire Emblem. I mean, Fire Emblem has become such a massive franchise for them, and I think that's only been helped by Fire Emblem Heroes that's on I think it's Heroes. Yeah, Warriors is the Switch one. So Heroes on the phones, because you've got all these mainstream people who never played a Fire Emblem game before, but they saw this cute little waifu game on their phone. Now they're obsessed with it, and they also have the Switch, which is, again, a very popular system. And I think the new Fire Emblem game that's on that home console is going to bring in a lot of people. And, assuredly, I will put money on this right now. That game is going to sell more than Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn combined.
Oh, yeah.
And Radiant Dawn did pretty well, considering it was on Wii and it was out for a long time. It was still readily available in stores throughout the first, I'd say, 3 years of the Wii life cycle. But I think it's literally going to outsell both of the games immediately, and might even do better than Fates and Awakening. I think Fates and Awakening were a great setup for what we're going to get for the Switch game, because it's getting a lot of new people into it. You sort of have now cemented what the art style of the series looks like. It's very anime now, and it didn't used to be. It was a lot more fantasy and westernized, and now it just straight up looks anime. And on top of that, they implemented the waifu system, which a lot of hardcore players really don't like. They're come on, this isn't the Fire Emblem I grew up with. But at the same time, you cannot argue with the power of the waifus, because it's brought in so many other people.
It saved the franchise.
It literally saved the franchise. And they mentioned, in terms of the development for this new Fire Emblem game on Switch, that one of the big focuses is going to be interacting with your player characters in a new and unique way. So what that says to me is there's some new petting minigame or something like that. there's gonna be something with waifus. Rest assured, you will get your marriage system and children in the next Fire Emblem game.
Yeah, and that's another interesting topic to talk about, is the approach to waifus, something that Nintendo would have stayed far away from in the past. But we saw Fire Emblem changed that in many ways. Awakening was the turning point. And then Nintendo has slowly started putting more and more emphasis on those elements, anime, waifus. We saw that in Zelda with the thickness of Zelda.
Get down with the
And
thickness.
Urbosa, you can't forget about Urbosa.
Chronicles,
Urbosa's great.
it's on a whole different level.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then ARMS, I'd say too. I mean, they did it with ARMS
yeah.
too. And even the Splatoon characters. They made an official announcement that Marina and Pearl are over the age of 18. Why would they have made that announcement if not, it's clear
And then you have
why
the
they made
game
that
I can't
announcement
spell.
in Japan.
You know the one that is in Japan already.
Yeah.
The hentai game.
Senran Kagura. Yeah.
Correct.
Senran Kagura, exactly.
Who would have thought that would be a Switch? Well, it's not a Switch exclusive, but at least the gameplay that the Switch offers is
God bless
exclusive.
HD Rumble, I swear.
When you saw in the Nintendo
So
Direct them playing around with balloons and jiggle physics and imitating the Joy-Cons being breasts is just
Right now, first quarter looks like it's going to be Kirby and Yoshi, it seems like. And that probably, I know not a lot of people might agree with me on this. I think we're probably getting Fire Emblem pretty early in the year, too. Because Fire Emblem primarily is like a spring game. I think even like Awakening and Fates both came out in February, so that's actually winter. And I don't think it's going to be that soon, but I could easily see them releasing it in like April or March even.
So
maybe they don't want to like cannibalize the sales of Octopath, because that'll probably be coming around the same time, and like Nintendo has a huge stake in that. And that is kind of like a similar audience because they're both, you know, J franchises. But I could see like if one of them comes out in March, the other one comes out in April.
Yeah, that January Direct is going to be meaty.
Then Metroid. People talk about Metroid Prime 4, and people will continue talk about Smash Switch, but I think it's too late for Smash 4 to come to the Switch. I think they're already working on the next one.
Yeah, and like a lot of people keep telling me. I actually posted a poll on Twitter, like, what game do you want to see? What, you can only pick one of these Wii U games on Switch. What is it? And one of them was other, and people replied, it's Smash, obviously, duh. And I'm like, no, the Switch needs a brand new Smash Bros. Game. Like, seriously.
See, I'm still like, I still don't know. I go back and forth on this like literally every week. I think I would honestly be okay with either. I think it comes down to this, right? I think if we do still get a Smash 4 port, then I think it's going to be much meatier than just like adding on a new mode like what Deluxe did with Mario Kart 8, which, mind you, I think Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still fantastic, but it's like, I don't think they could do that with Smash Brothers. I think people want a full-fledged Smash Bros. Game on the Switch, and if they're gonna do it, I feel like they'll probably have to add multiple characters. They'll have to basically announce it like a platform where they're going to continue adding DLC to it. And I think at that point, they might just be better off making a new game. And like, I hate to say that because I think Smash 4 is great and still has a lot of life in it. And I think a lot of people didn't get the opportunity to play it because obviously Wii U wasn't a huge success. And I think there's a lot of people out there who maybe the last time they played a Smash Brothers game was Brawl, and so they still are unaware of the fact that like you could play as Cloud or you know, PIKMIN in a Smash Brothers game. So it might be cool if they were gonna like release it as a package and then have all the Wii U DLC just already there on the disc, and then still add new characters and still add DLC content, throw back in the Ice Climbers, something like that. But then you run the risk of the roster getting too big and then getting unbalanceable, and it's already kind of rough right now on Smash 4. I feel like there's still like a top 10, like the 10 characters you always see over and over again. And I think it might do them like good to actually cut the roster like by half, include mostly like the tried and true characters, throw in a bunch of newcomers, but then like revamp a lot of those characters. I mean, since the release of Smash 4, it's crazy to think this, but like Nintendo has honestly revolutionized the way that we look at Mario and Link now. And I think they could easily go back to the movesets of both of those characters, and instead of having the cape for Mario's side B, make it Cappy. And for Link, I mean, a Breath of the Wild, they could make Breath of the Wild Link his own character, honestly, if they wanted to. They could either revamp Link how he is now, or they could just straight up add in Champion Link as a character.
With all the Sheikah
with the
runes.
Traditional blue garb, all the Sheikah runes. Dude, they could do it. And, like, I don't think people would be upset either if they did that. It would feel like a new character. It wouldn't feel like something like Toon Link. It would be like a new Zelda character. And that's the big problem people have with that franchise right now, is that like a lot of the characters people want to see in Smash Brothers from the Zelda franchise are usually like one-off characters, but Link is tried and true. You know, Link might technically just be a one-off character if he's the Breath of the Wild iteration of it, but Link as his own character is still bigger than, I'd say, you know, a Skull Kid or a Midna or someone like that. And even if they wanted to, they could revamp Ganondorf. They could throw in like the Hyrule Warriors version of Ganondorf, which was critically acclaimed. People love that version of Ganondorf. Honestly, they could throw in Linkle if they want. Like, there's a lot of things they could do since Smash 4 came out. And then, of course, the Inklings are a done deal, as well as an ARMS character. Those are two franchises that are like one and done, absolutely going to be playable.
And the same applies to Xenoblade now with
Rex and Pyra as a tag team is assured. Like, Xenoblade has now become a really big franchise, and even I could see them even adding Elma from Xenoblade X and having 3 Xenoblade characters. And maybe people who don't like anime games will be kind of upset by that, but I don't care. I love Xenoblade. Whatever. I want things from all 3 games. Screw it. I want like Elma with the final smash where she has a skull. I want Rex and Pyro where they do a chain attack. Like, please, give me that.
Seriously, this is all such great ideas.